I just want y'all to know that when you're a black man in America, right, sometimes you get reminders. You know what I mean?
No, but I don't know what we're talking about here.
You're right. Something. You're right.
Yes.
You're right. But you know what? Mel, the draft has spoken.
That's the key, Mel. It's not putting a value judgment on whether those who passed were right or wrong. They did.
Yep.
So now, whenever you're in circumstances in life, whether you like them, whether you don't like them, whether they're fair or whether they're unfair, you might have to deal with them.
That's
and
right.
now Shedeur Sanders has to deal with it.
Your dad could be a Hall of Fame player and you could beat the odds because not too many Hall of Fame players have good kids. So you can beat the odds. You can beat, he ain't his daddy. You can beat all of that growing up. But you still get a reminder that you just a nigga, man.
Well, now tuned in to the Dark Times Challenge.
And so here we go again, back with another one. And I want to go ahead and follow up and deal with some of the reactions around the association and what people are talking about and what people are saying, in particular with Gillie the Kid and Stephen A. Smith.
To all my folks out there, right? I just want y'all to know that when you're a black man in America, right, sometimes you get reminders. You know what I mean? As a successful black man in America, I often get reminders. And in the Shedeur Sanders situation, this is just a reminder that you can do everything right in life. You can come from a good family. You could be a good student. You could be a God-fearing kid. You could be a hard worker. You could beat the odds. Your dad could be a Hall of Fame player and you can beat the odds because not too many Hall of Fame players have good kids. So you can beat the odds. You can beat, he ain't his daddy. You can beat all of that growing up. But you still get a reminder that you just a nigga, man. That's it. You just a nigga. We sitting here looking at a public execution going on right in front of our eyes. Where it's like, we just gotta remind you that you just good. There's no other way to look at it. There's a lot of black analysts on TV, but they gotta keep it corporate. They can't say what it is. They gotta keep it corporate. I just think this is unbelievable. It's just, no, sometimes as a black man in America, you get reminded that you just a nigga. Don't matter how much work you put in, don't matter. None of that don't matter. You gotta understand. I arrived at a hotel in Boston, right? And I get to the front desk and I say, is there any way I could get a suite? And this lady looked at me and she said, I'm sorry. She didn't press one button. She says, I'm sorry, it's no suites in the building. They're all sold out. As she's saying it, a white man is walking out the back and she say, Gillie, oh man, I love you. Man, I love what you do for the community, man. You're a great guy. She hand me my room key. I get up to my floor. When the elevator opened, the white guy's on my floor. And he says, Gillie, I don't know why she told you there's no suites available. Every suite in the building is open, Gillie. Come back downstairs, man. We're going to put you in a suite. But it was just a reminder that you just a nigga. That lady looked at me and said, there's no suites. Before I make this hotel thousands of dollars, I would rather your black ass not be in a suite. So in life, you get reminded sometimes that you just a nigga. No matter how much work you put in, how much good you do, you just go.
I felt that one, and I know a lot of y'all did as well. And this is not an indictment on everybody from a particular community. And so when people outside of the community hear something like this, they internalize it. But it's not for everybody. Not everybody is going to act and feel the same way that young lady did, or that young lady treated Gillie the Kid. But enough of them do. And like Gillie the Kid said, although he had money to spend at the establishment, it didn't matter. To that employee, it was more important to her that she put him in his place.
Shedeur Sanders is not blameless here. Primetime Deion Sanders is not blameless here. I'm going to say what I have to say, knowing that both of them have their hands at least a little bit dirty in all of this. But if you're the National Football League, clearly it's not about talent anymore. It's about something else. And I'm going to tell you, I spent a large amount of the last 24 hours thinking about nothing more than I was thinking about collusion. Because how in the hell does 32 teams in the National Football League pass on a quarterback that was universally recognized as one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the country entering this draft, and 32 teams passed on him? Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 different times they passed on him. How the hell does that happen? 4 rounds. It doesn't happen to a quarterback. We've never seen anything like this before. We've seen guys drop because of injuries. We've seen guys drop because of off-field issues, but we've never seen a quarterback projected to be a top 20 pick, universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft, projected to be a first rounder, in all likelihood a safe bet of a late first rounder, and drop literally to the 5th round. We haven't seen anything like that. And when you're talking about the owners, I'm going to keep in mind, and I tweeted about this, seems very Kaepernick-like, as in Colin Kaepernick.
And so absolutely, anybody that was paying attention to the draft with an open mind, we're seeing the exact same thing that Stephen A. Smith and a lot of us were seeing. It looked like collusion, because there's no reason that Shedeur Sanders shouldn't have been drafted in the 1st round, let alone not even the 2nd or the 3rd or the 4th round. And something else that stood out to me when I was watching the draft, I couldn't help but wonder, what happened to the Sanders family good friend Tom Brady? Being a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, you would have thought he would have taken his good friend Shedeur Sanders. Knowing what kind of quarterback he is, knowing what kind of individual he is. Apparently, they've been working together for years. They've been texting. They talk almost every day, or at least that was what was told to us throughout the season, throughout the year. Tom Brady is his idol, so to speak. And so when I was watching the draft, I couldn't help but wonder. And not only that, what happened to the other good friend of the family, and Jerry Jones, being from Dallas, having a great relationship with the Sanders family. And so it definitely looked like some wink-wink, behind-the-scenes gentleman agreement that everybody wasn't going to draft Shedeur Sanders. That's what it looked like. And even when they did take Shedeur Sanders, when the Cleveland Browns drafted Shedeur Sanders, it's almost like they set him up for failure by putting him in an impossible position, putting him in a position where he has to compete against 4 of the quarterbacks as a 5th round pick. And I want y'all to go ahead and check out this press conference that the Cleveland Browns held after the draft and listen to one of the questions that the reporter asked them.
That was the appropriate thing to do. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, Andrew, this is first for you. Can you seems like sort of a blockbuster move for you guys to make at this point. And then also, when we saw your guys' reaction in the war room, it just didn't look necessarily exuberant. So I don't know what we were seeing, but maybe you can explain that. And then also, how did this happen?
Yeah, I think we're probably just tired from the weekend.
Those clips, it's not timed up to exactly the right
when
time.
We're actually
so I wouldn't. Don't read too much into that.
Can you just explain this is a pretty big deal after everything that happened with Shedeur, this epic free fall that he had. How did this happen, and what was the thinking behind it?
Yeah, I just say the biggest thing for us, we live by our board. We felt like he was a good, solid prospect at the most important position. We felt like it got to a point where he was probably mispriced, relative to the draft. Really the acquisition cost was pretty light, and it's a guy that we think can outproduce his draft slot. So I wouldn't say it's any more than that. Mary Kay, I think obviously Shedeur has kind of grown up in the spotlight. But our expectation is for him to come in here and work and compete. Nothing's been promised. Nothing will be given. So I may hesitate to characterize it as a blockbuster. That's not necessarily how we thought of the transaction. But we are excited to work with him.
But isn't a circus going to come along with this pick, even if it's not intentional? It seems everything follows him.
Our guys understand, Jeff, when you're in the building, we're here to work. We don't pay much attention to what's on the outside. We know we've spent a lot of time with Shedeur. We know what he's about. He's coming in here to work just like all of our other players.
For both of you, Kevin, AB, either one of you, what are the biggest maybe misconceptions about Shedeur's game in terms of the way he plays the quarterback position, traits, that sort of thing?
I can't, Chris, I can't really speak on what other people think. I can describe how we view him. We view him as a highly accurate pocket passer. He does a really good job of protecting the ball. He has enough of the physical characteristics, whether it's arm strength or mobility. Like all young players, there are things to improve. I think probably much has been said about the number of sacks he's taken. Some of that is environment, and some of that is improvement on his end for sure. But he has probably a little bit more of a, call it retro or classic style of play. Again, I can't speak to how others view him.
And so I didn't care for that press conference one bit, and I didn't care for any of those answers at all. Talking about Deion Sanders is going to have to come in and compete. No shit, he's going to have to come in and compete. You got 5 quarterbacks in that room, and Deion Sanders is coming in at one of the lowest people on the totem pole, being a 5th round pick, being more expendable than some of the other quarterbacks on there. And not to mention, how is Deion Sanders and some of those other younger quarterbacks on that team supposed to get reps? Because we all know it comes down to reps. That's what they always say. The more reps you get, the more you see, the better off you're going to be when it comes game time. And so when it comes preseason, and not just Shedeur, but some of those other younger quarterbacks in the room, how are they supposed to look? Trying to divide reps during practice time, how are they going to look? And so that's why I say it's nearly an impossible situation, not trying to say that he can't overcome it, but it's looking like they put him in a situation to try to make sure that he doesn't overcome it. And now everybody can say, look, we gave him a chance. It was fair play, open competition. He just couldn't cut it. And a lot of people are seeing that. A lot of people are seeing the okie doke that's going on this one. But nevertheless, he's drafted, and it is what it is. I believe it's all going to work out. Maybe he gets traded at some point. Maybe he fights his way through and becomes a starter in Cleveland. But who knows? I believe it's all going to work out in the end. But that's all I had on this one. Make sure you guys go ahead and chime in below. And as usual, peace and chaos.